So I had a great time talking to my friend Megyn Kelly today, and we have some of that here for you. It was a great conversation. We talked about everything from COVID to Joe Rogan to our brand new movie here at the Daily Wire Shut-In. Here's what it sounded like.
Welcome back to the Megyn Kelly Show. Joining me now, Ben Shapiro, editor emeritus of DailyWire.com, host of the Ben Shapiro Show, and executive producer of the Daily Wire's latest film, Shut-In. Hello, emeritus. What's going on,
Hey,
Ben?
how are you doing?
Good. Congrats on the film. I watched it. My team was like, we'll watch it for you if you want. I'm like, no, I actually want to see it. I want to see how it is. I really enjoyed it. It's a thriller. It's a good thriller. Keeps you on the edge of your seat. You don't know what's going to happen to this poor woman. And the acting was actually amazing, especially I thought the child actors were kind of crazy good.
Yeah, the kids were actually shockingly good. When we read the script, we were taken aback at how good the script was. So it was on what was called the Hollywood Blacklist for years. Doesn't mean that no one would produce it. It means that it was considered one of the best scripts in Hollywood that no one had yet produced. And when the option came up on it, we grabbed that because obviously it doesn't require a huge budget. We can do it pretty quickly, and it contains a lot of the values that we liked. So we were privileged to make the film, and we're really excited to bring it to people and provide a little bit of competition in at least a minor way. For dollars of people who are sick of getting slapped in the face by Netflix and Apple TV and Hulu and all the rest.
Well, this is the thing. This is why everybody out there has got to support the Daily Wire in this effort. Watch the movie, all the movies coming from the Daily Wire, because there needs to be somebody who will make more conservative-leaning films, hire more conservative-leaning actors, which right now is a death knell to your career if you're a Hollywood person. And so we always talk about creating new lanes. This is one. So people need to exercise with their money, with their wallet, although they can watch it for free. My listeners can Thursday night. But after that, you got to pay. You can subscribe to the Daily Wire and support the effort.
I definitely appreciate that. And we have all sorts of good stuff coming. We have a movie called Terror on the Prairie with Gina Carano. You remember we picked her up last year after Disney Plus canceled her for basically nothing. We picked her up, and we're doing this great Western. It looks really good. We've seen all of the outs from it, and that's going to be great. That's coming out in the next few months. And we have another movie that's going to be kind of a surprise. We have a bunch of stuff that's coming out. So we're hoping for folks to support us, because if you don't support us, then who's going to make this kind of stuff?
Right.
Because frankly, it is amazing how Hollywood is so unbelievably one-sided that when you just watch a film that doesn't overtly smack you in the face, you're like, well, that was pleasant. That's how bad it's become.
It's so true. You can't turn on your TV. You can't turn on a streaming service. You can't turn on, any sort of Apple TV or movie, whatever, without getting lectured to these days. You've got like the latest cause of the month. It's something about identity politics. Then the movie's all about wokeness, somebody's woke battle. You can't avoid it. And yet you've got shows like Yellowstone, which, they didn't start in the cities out and then grow inward. They started in the inner city and grew outward, that are crushing everything. So there's a market for this if only people would open their eyes.
There's no question. The thing that's irritating about Yellowstone is it started off as a kind of dark Western, and then it's as though they got uncomfortable with the fact that it's such a kind of congenitally right-wing show. And so they started making overt left-wing moves. I don't know if you watched the last season of Yellowstone, but
I did.
The last season of Yellowstone has Kevin Costner, who is supposed to be this grizzled billionaire rancher, who's kind of the hero of the show. And his love interest is a radical environmentalist who's getting arrested for protest. It's really quite absurd.
You have a good point. My other frustration with the series Yellowstone is they write the character played by Kelly Riley is, very interesting, Beth, but she's clearly written by a man. I mean,
yes.
She's only got one sort of mode, and it's like the most crass-mouthed, toughest man ever. And this is clearly a man's version of what a tough woman looks and sounds like.
That's exactly right. The worst job in the world is being some sort of low-level wage employee working at the front desk of any business when Beth Dutton walks in. That's just the worst job in the entire world. If you're somebody's assistant, if you're like a waiter, she's just going to come in and abuse you for no reason. And it's pretty clear that Taylor Sheridan, listen, the dude's doing an amazing job in the sense that he's currently writing, I believe, 3 separate shows on TV simultaneously. And he's got 1883 going in this one, and then he's got Mayor of Easttown. All of that is to say that it's pretty obvious that with Yellowstone, he basically has about 30 minutes of material, and then he's like, what if we just have Beth yell at somebody for 30 minutes? I got nothing.
Or I'm going to show the horses.
I'm
going to show those horses again with their crazy, they run and they can stop on a dime, right? Anyway, I still enjoy it. I love it. But yeah, point taken.
Oh yeah, no, I'm like hate-love watching it, right? I really enjoy it, but it's terrible. I mean, it's like the plot, the last season, did a full 15-minute review of the last season on YouTube, and I gotta say, the last episode of the last season is one of the most ridiculous things that has ever been committed to film. It is so silly, but it's definitely. But honestly, if there are cowboy hats and an occasional gun and horsies, I will watch it.
Yes. And, as you know, we have a place in Montana, so it's like any reason to look at that skyscape and enjoy the scenery. Yeah, I'll take it. But it does make me want to be a rancher, and I want her wardrobe.
We'll get to more of my conversation with Megyn Kelly in just one moment. First, I'm sure you all know about the Ring video doorbell by now because I talk about it incessantly. Something you may not know about is that Ring makes an alarm. Ring Alarm is an award-winning home security system with available professional monitoring. It's more than just security. Ring Alarm can help protect your home from flooding, freeze, and fire as well. Ring Alarm works on any house or apartment. You can add sensors for motion, doors, and windows. Their professional monitoring gives you the ultimate peace of mind. All of their services are part of a Ring Protect subscription. There are no long-term commitments. If anything happens, professional monitoring will call you. You can request emergency services. Best of all, Ring's professional monitoring is an amazing deal. You get tons of great features and an award-winning professional monitoring team for less money than most professional alarm companies. You and your loved ones can rest easy knowing Ring Alarm is helping to protect your home. Get protection and peace of mind with Ring Alarm. Like the other day, got up early in the mornings with my kids, and one of them opened the door, and the alarm went off. And security called us, wanted to make sure that we were okay. Thank God it was, of course, not a big deal. Go to ring.com/Ben Shapiro to get a great deal on a Ring Alarm home security kit today. That's ring.com/Ben Shapiro.
Ben, let's talk about the morning over at CNN, MOURN, morning. They are in denial that Jeff Zucker has been kicked out. He was about to get fired, so he resigned in the wake of it being exposed that he had a consensual affair with an underling, with an employee. And they claim that it only started during COVID. I've said reportedly, I've said on the air before, that's not true. That I've heard from many people well before COVID that these two have been having an affair. We had a reporter from Rolling Stone come on our air and say her sources are telling her it started in 1996. It's been going on for years while they were married, while she was a very junior employee to him at the Today Show. He kept promoting her up the line, continued to do that while at CNN over the heads of other women in the PR department who were not sleeping with him, we presume. And so it's a major ethical breach, and it's a major problem for journalism. And I think they were absolutely right to fire the guy. So the CNN employees, and it's conveniently, I think, all the employees who owe their jobs and their careers to him, who realize that there is not another company that will hire them if the new management coming in doesn't like them, they're crying in their soup and very openly. And we are hearing ridiculous things like this. Alison Camerata, in a leaked tape of their meetings that they're having with the chief there, Jason Kilar, who's the guy who forced out Zucker. I think that what you're hearing, what we're all experiencing, is just a huge shockwave to all of our mental health. This has been incredibly destabilizing and unsettling. One of the secrets to mental health is understanding. And the way that happens is getting some answers and some closure. And we don't have that. We don't understand why the death penalty was necessary. And then you've got another employee there offering this up, Ben, telling Jason Kilar, a member of the January 6th committee came forward and told me that the committee is devastated for our democracy as a result of Jeff Zucker's departure. What do you make of it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so first of all, apparently he was having an affair with this woman since I was 12. So that's a super long time because I'm 38 now. And so when he says that he was doing this for like the last year, that's a pretty weak cover. He elevated her at every job she ever held. She followed him around to every job he ever held. And then they were apparently coordinating with Andrew Cuomo, which is, of course, the capper on this whole thing. They were coordinating with Andrew Cuomo, for whom she had once worked as a comms director at the beginning of the pandemic to help kind of fend off Trump and help him message. Meanwhile, they were having Chris Cuomo do spots on air with his brother, the whole Smothers Brothers routine that we all grimaced over during the early months of the pandemic. So, yeah, did he deserve to lose his job? Of course he deserved to lose his job. But, I mean, this is the reality. Most people at CNN, on the basis of ratings, deserve to lose their jobs. And the ratings at CNN are lower than dirt. I mean, that more people watch their wallpaper than watch CNN. And it is not close. CNN's ratings are just garbage. In this part, Trump was right about. And the fact
they've
that
lost
Jeff
90% of their audience
failed,
year to year. 90.
It's crazy. I mean, Jeff Zucker has been a failure at every job he has ever held since the Today Show. Right? He did well on the Today Show, and then he was a giant failure when he was head of NBC. He destroyed their comedy routines. He then proceeded to move on to CNN, where he completely destroyed their lineup. He turned them from the most trusted name in news to Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo and a much less newsy Anderson Cooper, and this was their evening lineup. And yet all these people are weeping over him. Now, I just would want to know, what is their actual standard at CNN? So, I mean, it is good to know that you don't get fired if you are having Woody Allen-style sex with yourself on camera, like Jeff Toobin. Like, that's okay.
No problem.
So you can still have a job there. So the good news is Toobin could theoretically be the new head of CNN. And apparently it takes you actually being exposed as an advisor to your brother to get fired if you're Chris Cuomo. But then they will mourn you, even if you were nailing the help for like 30 years and elevating her to every position while coordinating with somebody you are covering. And by the way, getting like Jeff Zucker let Chris Cuomo go over the revelations that he was working with Andrew. Like, how did he think that was going to go, Jeff Zucker? Seriously, like, how do you think that was going to go? I assume that Chris has had conversations with Andrew. I mean, considering they have the whole time. So wouldn't it ever have occurred to Jeff Zucker, wait, if I fire Chris Cuomo, isn't Chris just going to talk to Andrew, who's going to refer Chris back to Allison Gollust and me?
Yeah, exactly right.
They're all morons. They're all morons, and they deserve everything they get.
Yeah, and the worst is Brian Stelter out there saying, like, he's attacking Joe Rogan, saying, I don't, like, what we do, what people listen to him for information, and it's really disinformation. CNN. See, we are real journalists and we have legitimate stories. Look at our website. We have 80 stories just posted today. And to compare us, like, people should be coming to us for the real information, not Joe Rogan. He's completely lost the thread. He doesn't understand. We've all moved on without them. We no longer trust them.
That mentality is everything, though. It's that mentality, though, Megyn. That mentality that says, why aren't they listening to us? Right? It can't be. It's the Principal Skinner thing from The Simpsons, right? It's not me that's wrong. It must be the children. Well, if the idea is that everybody should be watching Brian Stelter, which, again, how Brian Stelter ever made it on air kind of in consistent fashion is beyond me. But
he should be worried for his job. He should. It's
so odd. But if you feel that way, then what you really mean is that people should be restricted from viewing other sources, right? Which is what Brian Stelter wants. And Brian Stelter wants Rogan off the air, not because he thinks Rogan is such a terrible source of information, but because people should be watching Brian Stelter. And he wants big tech to crack down on you or crack down on me, crack down on anybody that he doesn't like, because why would people watch our shows? I mean, he's so much more reliable. I mean, his show is called Reliable Sources. It is the most reliable of all the sources, even according to the name of his own show, that he has reliably titled Reliable Sources. So why exactly would we not rely on him for such sources?
To pretend that CNN is anything close to what it used to be is, again, yogurt. It's a lie.
Well, that was just part of our conversation. I love talking to Megyn. Megyn is fantastic. If you want to hear the whole conversation, head on over to Megyn's YouTube page. She posted the entire conversation over there. Give it a listen.